Hello everyone and welcome back to the Big Analytics Query. I'm Tom and today we are joined by two guests. What a treat, a return from Matt and welcome Georgia for the first time to the show. Why don't you both introduce yourselves for us?
So hi, I'm Georgia and I'm a senior consultant in the Blue Lights team at Simpsons.
And I'm Matt. I'm a principal consultant in the commercial team.
Thank you very much. And today we are talking all things Power BI and Fabric and particularly the new features. So why don't you start us off talking about some of those features and where you've seen the benefits?
Sure. Should I kick us off?
Yeah, you kick us off, Matt.
So my particular focus is usually around like Power BI. So one of the features that I really like that's come out recently is the semantic model version history. So obviously there is an integration between Fabric and Power BI and source control, which came out I think last year, maybe the year before. Which means that you can have, Azure DevOps synced to your workspaces. Everything can go fully source controlled. But and obviously, if you're enterprise, then that's great, and everything should be fully in source control. But if you're a really small team, a really small organization, or if you're doing self-service, within a large organization, then it's a little bit overkill. It's quite a lot to expect. Someone that maybe only touches Power BI like a couple of days a month to suddenly learn how like branching strategies and pull requests and deal with merge conflicts. So I really like the fact that now you can just add version history to a semantic model that doesn't require full source control. So everything's still coming nicely backed up. If something goes wrong, you can restore to a previous version without having to deal with.
But you don't need the Visual Studio VS Code and all of the extra tools that you would need.
Yes, that's a really nice change.
I'll talk a bit about user data functions as well. So Fabric have now integrated user data functions with notebooks, which is really useful. So you can now define your function as a user data function item, and then you can call this directly from your notebook. So previously you would define a function maybe in another notebook, and then if you wanted to use that in like your enterprise transformation notebook, for example, you would then have to run the notebook that you defined it in to be able to bring that function and use it within your transformation logic. So now you can actually just call that function directly by name into your notebook. So it's
just simplifying the whole process.
Exactly, and you've only got to define it one time as well. So you've not got to sort of repeat any code logic because you've just got to call it once from that user data function item. So they're really useful. I used them in a project recently for an unpivot function. So we had loads of enterprise tables that needed to be, or staging tables rather, that needed to be unpivoted in the enterprise transformation layer. And this was really useful to just call that one function to unpivot all these tables rather than having to write that logic out 20 times.
Yeah, copy and paste and everything, yeah.
It's a bit long. Yeah, exactly.
And what's nice about those is that they're also used in one of the other new features, which is the Translytical Data Flows. Basically, it means that you can do things like write back to your data source from Power BI, which, as long as I've been working with Power BI, which is quite a long time now, it's been a request from users to say, like, okay, it's great that I can see everything. However, I would like to make little adjustments here and there. Delete rows, update rows, edit rows, all that sort of stuff. And it just hasn't been possible, or you've had to use third-party tools, like third-party visualizations that are embedded in. So it's been desired by users for, probably like 10 years now. Basically, as soon as Power BI was released, people have wanted to write back capability. And Translytical Data Flows use the user data functions in the background to write back. So that's one of the really big new announcements for this year.
Very helpful for reporting and
very helpful.
Are there any other Georges that you've seen?
So another feature that they've introduced is auto scale billing as part of like a Spark overhaul they've sort of done.
And this is within Fabric.
Yeah, within Fabric, sorry, So basically it's shifted to a serverless billing model. So you decouple your Spark node and your Fabric capacity. And then you can scale up your Spark node or scale it down. So it's quite useful if you have sort of one-off sort of spiky, irregular workloads, because you can scale it up that one-off sort of really heavy ETL process, for example, and then scale it back down, but it's completely separate from that Fabric capacity. So that's something that I can see being really useful as well.
Definitely.
One more that I've got is the updates to Azure Maps. So I actually had a customer email me the other day about this, asking when is this going to be released, when is this available, because there's a load of new functionality for Azure Maps. So for example, one of them is you can have paths in your map now, rather than just the bubbles or like, pie charts and stuff that you had previously. You can actually use like lat long pairs to plot out a route. So my Strava report is about to get a brand new update, because previously you had to use third-party custom visuals and stuff like that, but now I can actually just use the default.
So what is this Strava report? Are you tracking your runs?
Yeah, exactly. Pace, tracking like where I went, comparing that to previous runs to make sure I'm getting improvement.
And now you'll be able to see the run itself.
Yeah.
Find those sectors where
I'm slowing down or going quicker. Yeah, find improvements.
It's a data channel, Matt, not your fitness channel.
Thanks.
No, but that can be useful for other things. I mean, obviously your Strava runs, but
Which are very important.
Which are very important.
Thank you.
But also, I was speaking the other day about using that for patrol data. So being able to look at where, patrols sort of are walking around, I guess, in different areas for police data. That's a really good benefit of the Azure Map layers there as well.
Yeah. There's also brand new tenant settings coming out, which police will also be particularly interested in, as well as other public sector organizations. So previously people were a little bit unsure about whether they could use Azure Maps or not, because there was a bit of uncertainty about where is the data processed and what particular configuration of Azure Maps meant that it was being sent off to third parties or being sent outside your home region. So what Microsoft have done is created 3 new tenant settings for Azure Maps, where you can either enable them or disable them completely. But then there's also another one which lets you enable or disable data going outside of your home region. So you can fully just disable that, and then you're confident that none of your data is going outside your home region at the moment. There's still a little bit of complexity, because at the moment the documentation only mentions the EU and US, and we haven't had the chance to sort of investigate this any further yet. So still a little bit of uncertainty.
Hopefully it's moving in the right.
It's moving in the right direction, yeah.
Yeah, and that's really useful for the police and stuff.
100%, because
where the data security is so important.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And we've spoken a bit about the uses. Are there any other particular, you cover a wide range of sectors between the two of you, that you've seen these benefits come in particularly helpful, these updates?
Yeah, so for the translytical data flows, I think the departments and industries that they'll be really useful in is finance. So finance, always doing forecasts. They're always wanting to make adjustments, whether that's adding in absolute values into particular months, or saying this is going to increase by 10% in this month and then 20% in the next month, and so on. There are obviously finance tools that do all of that, but being able to do some of that in Power BI as well will be really useful for them, because they can literally be looking at a report and end report for their forecast, make adjustments and say, okay, what actually happens if this cost increases by 10% instead of 5%? Click a button, and then all of their charts basically immediately update, because you're updating the source data behind it. So I think those data flows will be really, really useful for finance.
With all of these updates, many good things, but are there any challenges or things that you've noticed that you want to be particularly aware of, that just to warn people when they're using these new features?
So I think for CoPilot, obviously they made loads of improvements to it, including the DAX, but I still don't think it's quite there. I think the problem with DAX is that it doesn't really exist in a vacuum. It's very much related to your data model and how that's set up. If you've got things like bridging tables, it's not a pure star schema, maybe it snowflakes a little bit. You've got field parameters and stuff like that in there which work a little bit differently. You've got calculation groups which work a little bit differently. Then at the moment, getting CoPilot to help you or write or suggest DAX still doesn't work brilliantly. So I'd like to see further improvements there.
I guess we've always said that on this with AI, right? It's not there to write the code, it's there to kind of assist as you go. So you need an understanding of your data model to help it
100%.
explain more.
Yeah, a classic wouldn't, regardless whether it's stacks or anything else. It's a good starting point to give you some ideas, but then research it, look at the functions, make sure they're working as you would expect. Don't just use it as the, okay, great.
It's not one return.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not there to write the code for you. That's
It's a helper. Yeah, exactly.
So now, given we've got two of you, we're going to do something slightly different, and we're going to have a quick fire quiz round. So I have 9 questions here, so it won't be a tie. And each of you have got your buzzers. Matt, can we hear your buzzer first? Georgia, yours?
Mine's very topical.
Blue light team with the green light.
Yeah, it's the wrong.
Yeah, it is.
But fastest finger first. I'll then answer. And good luck. Are we ready?
Yeah.
Please name 3 of the new features in either Fabric or Power BI introduced in 2025. That's Georgia.
We've got translytical flows.
Big hardest one to say.
I did like to do that. We've got Azure Map layers, and we've also got CoPilot in notebooks.
Very nice. 1-0. Which feature enables users to automate report actions and data right back directly from Power BI reports? Mucked up the words, but Matt, you got there first.
Translytical data flow.
Correct. 1-1. Question 3. What sort of data categories can now be used in the Azure Map layers? Georgia.
I think I was just a bit keen with the buzzer.
Too excited to press. Well, pass it over, Matt.
Is it stuff like traffic, demographic, and sales data?
Correct. 2-1 to Matt, takes the lead. Question 4. What new chart type was introduced in Power BI's May 2025 update? Matt.
Dandelion chart.
Correct. 3-1, Matt.
It's not good for me.
Got the next one, I'm sure. What is a key feature of the new ArcGIS analytics support? Georgia.
So you can use it in data engineering and data science tasks, and it's integrated in Spark notebooks.
Very good. What is the name of the new tool that provides a centralized view of upcoming Power BI features and their release timelines? Georgia to equalize.
Fabric Roadmap.
It is indeed the Fabric Roadmap tool. Question number 6, 3-all. What are 2 of the benefits of the new feature CoPilot in notebooks?
It increases the productivity, or your productivity, sorry, and it makes projects easier to maintain.
It does indeed. Takes the lead. Next question. What is a key feature of Translytical Task Flows? Matt.
So they have data write back capability, and you can call APIs from them.
Absolutely. Final question. It's all even. Winner takes all.
The Jeopardy.
Which new Power BI update includes key features and layers such as the bubble, heat map, tile, and 3D column? I think that was Matt.
I think mine has
Sure, Matt.
played.
Azure Map visuals.
It is indeed the Azure Map visuals. Congratulations, Matt. Commiserations, Georgia.
Well,
That is a triumphant buzzer.
with age comes wisdom.
I'm calling HR.
Thank you very much for watching. Hopefully this has helped you understand some more of the new features in Power BI and Fabric. If you've got any questions about anything we've said, write them in the comments and we'll get back to you. And don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you next month. Bye.